This series of videos will walk us through the tutorial for Unit 2 in Excel. In addition to the simple single operator formulas you learned about in the previous unit, Microsoft Excel includes powerful data analysis tools. One of those tools is the creation of complex formulas, which perform more than one calculation at a time. If you recall, in our previous assignment, we just multiplied two cells together. A complex formula is going to possibly multiply and then divide, or multiply and add something. It's going to be a combination of a number of different operands. Functions are pre-written formulas that can contain multiple operators, which you can use in your formulas to save time typing all of the parts of the complicated formula. Excel also provides tables to let you quickly analyze rows of data that have the same kind of information, such as customer or transaction lists. You can analyze the table by sorting the information or filtering it. You can also make certain data stand out in your worksheets by applying something called conditional formatting. To demonstrate all this, we're going to be working through an Excel spreadsheet for a company called Outdoor Designs. You're going to be given a worksheet that shows the sales for the company's Western region for January and February, and we're going to be performing some calculations on the data, organizing that so it's easier to read, and highlighting some of the important information. By the end of the tutorial, you'll know how to create complex formulas, use absolute cell references, understand functions, be able to use the date and time functions, use statistical functions, apply conditional formatting, sort rows in a table, and filter table data. To begin with, you'll want to go to Google Classroom, onto the classwork page, and find your way down to Excel Unit 2 assignments. For this particular assignment, you're going to be using the Western region sales, so you'll want to click on that, download it. You may have to open it in a new window first, and then download it. And once you have it downloaded, just simply open it up. In this first video, we're just going to be looking at how to create complex formulas and how to use absolute cell references. For this particular assignment, it already has a name, but it's saved in the download. So let's first go to File and choose Save As. Mine has a 1 after it because I was playing with this earlier, and so it added a new one. But you're going to want to go to wherever you store your documents. I'm going to go to Computer Applications, Excel. I've already started one there, so I'm just going to replace it. But yours, you would just simply type the name in there, click Save. You won't have the replace. The first thing that I'll have you do is position yourself in cell F6. In F6, we're going to create a complex formula that adds together the sales from January and February for Brenda, and then minuses the returns. So in other words, she made a bunch of sales in those 2 months, and during that time, some of the customers brought back some of the things that they had purchased. So we want to know her total sales less returns. We're going to do that by starting with an equal sign, because we start all formulas with an equal sign, and we're simply going to take January sales, which is in C6. We're going to add it, so use your shift on the equal sign and put a plus to D6, and then we're going to subtract E6. And I apologize, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for those of you that are following along so that you can see what's going on here. Oops, press enter. See if we can make this a little bigger for you. Oops, maybe not that big. All right, so just once again, I'll redo that. We're going to have equals C6 plus D6 minus E6. And the reason it's a complex formula is because we have two operands. We have a plus and a minus. All right, now that you've entered that, we can copy those formulas down to the rest of the cells in that column. Copy it down to F13. Remember, we are working with relative cell references. So when I was referencing row 6 in the first one, as I copied it down to row 7, it also references the values in row 7, and so on and so forth. Later on, we're going to be using something called an absolute cell reference that does not change. At this point, go ahead and just save your spreadsheet, keep it open, and now we are going to talk about those absolute cell references. Absolute cell references are those cell references that we don't want to move. In this case, we did want it to move. We wanted it to reference the next row down. But in the case of a commission, and we're referencing a commission rate, as I copy it down, I don't want that commission rate to move. If this individual earns a commission on her sales, the way I would calculate it is to take equals F6, her total sales less returns, times her commission rate. And if I were to press enter, I'd get her commission. That's perfect. But watch what happens if I copy it down at this point. I get all sorts of ugly stuff. Let's see what's going on here. If we do a control tilde, notice that it copied, oops, I need to come over here a little bit. It copied down the rows. Maybe I need to narrow it a little bit. It copied down the rows. In this one, it went from F7, from F6 to F7, and then it went from B16 to B17. We don't want to use B17. Likewise, we used F8, which is good in this one, but we don't want to use B18. We want to use B16. So we're going to have to lock that B16 in place, and that's called creating an absolute cell reference. So I'm going to get rid of my formulas here. I'm going to do an undo. I did lots of stuff in here. And we're going to redo this formula here. I'm going to say equals, let me scoot across here so you can see what's going on, equals F6 times B16, and before I hit enter, I'm going to hold down the function key. The function key is the little key that has like an FN on it. You're going to hold down the function key, and then you're going to hit the function key at the top that has an F4. It should be right above the actual 4 on your keyboard. And notice how it put a $sign before the B and a $sign before the 16. That means it's going to lock it into place. It cannot move from column B, and it cannot move from row 16. Now when I press enter and I copy it down, all of the salespeople get a commission. If I take a look at their formulas, notice that the first cell reference changed because it's relative. It went from F6 to 7, 8, etc. But the B16 stayed in place, and it always referenced the commission rate in B16. At this point, go ahead and remove the formulas by doing your control tilde if you've done that, and position yourself in A1 and hit save. At this point, you can either exit out of the program, or you can stay on the file and move on to the next video.